This episode of Rookie Hunter is brought to you by the Wild Sheep Foundation. Adventures in sheep country can change your life, and as residents of BC, we're very fortunate to have 3 different species of sheep in our province. After attending the Wild Sheep Foundation's annual convention, Sheep Show, in Reno, Nevada, we got to see what conservation looks like firsthand. The Wild Sheep Foundation's ability to raise and put millions of dollars on the ground each year to keep these majestic animals on the mountaintops worldwide is unmatched. The Wild Sheep family is a diverse group of people from all walks of life, and membership is open to anyone. Whether you're a seasoned pro, it's your first time on the mountain, or you just like to see sheep on the hillside, you can sign up and join today. Kelly and I are lifetime members, but you can become an annual member for just $45. You can also become a member of the Less Than One Club, which is the only club you want to get kicked out of. If you've never taken a North American or international ram, you can join us in the Less Than One Club for an extra $25. Plus, Less Than One Club membership also includes entry into a draw for 3 separate Dall sheep hunts, which will be given away at Sheep Show in 2019. For more information on the Wild Sheep Foundation and to become a member, head over to thewildsheepfoundation.org. Hey guys, gals, welcome to episode 90. We're creeping up on 100 episodes, which is pretty wild. This week, check our Instagram page. What we're going to do is we're going to put up a post that has the number 100 on it, and we're curious what you guys want to hear for episode 100. If it's a guest, please tag them. If you just want to hear Kelly and I chatting with each other, if you have any ideas, leave them up there in the comment section. And we'll start lining that up because 10 away isn't that far, and we're super excited to reach that number. It's just a number, but hey, it's pretty exciting, and that's a lot of episodes in the books. Today on the show, we're going to be talking about Euro mounts. So we've talked about this a little bit. Kelly did mine a few years back. He instructed Garrett how to do his elk from our elk trip, which was 2 years ago, and both of them turned out very well. So he's going to take us through the steps of doing it. I bailed on the process and he was by himself, so I have no idea. I'm a student in this as well. Hope you guys enjoy this conversation. If you have any follow-up questions or any other tips you might want to add to it, you can send us an email. Our email address is info@therookiehunter.com. Everything related to the show is up on our website, therookiehunter.com, of course. Support our sponsors, the Wild Sheep Foundation. We are 2 weeks away from Sheep Show. Very excited. Going to be a good time. Lots of cool folks going. And hope to see some of you guys there. wildsheepfoundation.org. I bet you can still go. You can even drop in for a day, for an evening, whatever you want to do. wildsheepfoundation.org. And North Arm Knives. Have you guys got yourself a knife yet? I hope you have. They are made right here, father and son team in British Columbia. So I hope you guys support them, northarmknives.com. Let's get into this episode. Sit back, relax, crack a nice cold beer, and enjoy episode 90 of Rookie Hunter. Kelly Molnar.
Hey.
How you doing?
Good. Another day of work down.
Our flights are officially booked.
Yeah, crazy.
How do you feel about that?
I don't know. It feels like it's real. It's only been a day, I feel like, since we really, we were talking about booking the flights, and then all of a sudden they're booked. But that amount of time,
yeah,
it kind of feels like night and day because right. It's real.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, I'm pretty stoked about it because I'm happy with the area we chose. And
yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'm pretty stoked.
Let's circle back to that, because I think we have some questions related to it. Kel, you lost somebody in your family just recently, and we've talked about him a couple times.
Yeah, my grandpa.
Just share with people how you sort of connected with him and in his state through hunting, because I think it's fascinating.
Yeah, so my grandpa and I were always close, but I had never really connected to him through the hunting side of things before. Now that we've been hunting for 5 or 6 years, I started thinking more about it. And then when I, go back home and visit with family, we start talking about hunting. And the last few years, maybe 5 years, he was dealing with dementia. They got progressively worse. And in the early stages, I would show him a picture of our elk or some deer, or just talk to him about stories and that kind of thing. And right away he was, recalling things that happened when he was 20 years old, 25, 30, and so on. Because they used to go out every year. So there's a lot of experience there and a lot of good stories. And, him and his hunting buddy were best friends, like right to the end. So that was all cool. And then as things got progressively worse, it gets harder and harder to even have discussions. But whenever I pull up a photo of, that elk we got, or some photos from Sheep Show, like just the horns and all that kind of stuff, just trying to like pull some memories out of them. And right away is, snaps into it like, oh, that must be a 7-pointer. So I don't know. I just found it interesting that in some times where it becomes very challenging to kind of pull a conversation out of people that are dealing with that.
Yeah.
There are some trigger points where you show them something and it's just like, boom, they're remembering things again.
Pretty cool, man. I think you mentioned like one of the last times you visit him, your family didn't really think he would be too responsive if you went and visit him, and you went and talked to him anyways.
Yeah.
And even, I don't know how long, this was maybe within the last year or something like that. You went to see him and it still snapped him right out of it, and he was sharing hunting stories. And
yeah, like in a year's amount of time, like there was a dramatic change, obviously. And but yeah, even in that time, like just recently going back, you won't remember people's names, or like, there's not much conversation there at all. And then boom, it's like, oh, is that an elk? Is that a 7-pointer?
That's wild, man.
So, yeah, I don't know what it is. I mean, I'm sure that I don't know a lot about the disease, but I do know that the memories, the long-term memories typically hold longer than the ones that happened yesterday, right? So, yeah, it's just cool to be able to tap into that.
Yeah, for sure, man. And I think, well, again, I don't know much about the disease either, but cool that hunting is one of the things that was able to,
yeah, exactly.
He was able to pull those memories back without much effort. So
yeah, and I think it speaks to kind of how vivid the experiences are of hunting and how it relates to life in general.
Yeah,
and that's something that I'm trying to think about too. And I was watching one video today on YouTube. It's called it's a Yeti video, the Arctic Red one.
Yeah, you sent it to me. It's cool.
And they talk a little bit about sheep hunting. And I guess it applies to any hunting, but like the trigger pull would be like the last few pages of the book, right?
Yeah.
And nobody reads a book to read the last 2 pages and then just throw it on the ground.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I think about hunting now. And it kind of proved itself with this whole experience with my grandpa, right?
Yeah,
like
for sure.
Just, not once did he say, oh, I remember pulling the trigger on that thing. It was all about everything that happened before and after.
Yeah, falling into the creek and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all about the books that are written, I guess, for each trip.
Yeah.
And that stuff stays with you.
Yeah, man. I think that's great, but sorry for your loss, but it's just part of life. And sounds like
exactly.
He lived
I think
good one.
He had a really, really good life, lots of good family, and he was 90 years old. So
yeah,
if we could all live that long.
Yeah, definitely. That'd be all right.
Exactly.
Cool. Well, this episode is for him, and we're recording this a week before it'll go out, and that's the reason why. But so we're kind of scrambling last minute to pull an episode together. So the beautiful thing is whenever we don't really have much planned, we can always rely on Instagram to get us some questions. I love it.
Action.
Yeah. So there's a few repeats from questions we get quite often. I liked this question though from Scott. And he wanted to know if I'm still using my Fjallraven pack, and he wants to know if I would plan on upgrading it for the sheep hunt, and do I ever get pack envy when I see your pack? So starting with the first question, yeah, I'm still using the Fjallraven Abisko 75. It's a 75 liter pack.
Mm-hmm.
I do not plan on upgrading it. The thing, it blows my mind, man, and I have nothing to do with Fjallraven, so this is just me talking from experience. I've beaten the shit out of that pack. Literally, like, I don't know how many animals I've packed out in it. I've done, countless hunting trips with it. Ashley and I go backpacking. She's got a smaller, like a women's version of it, the 65.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just been awesome. It still looks brand new. So
Mhm.
if it ain't broken, then don't fix it, is the old saying.
Yeah.
And the thing is with the pack, I think, man, is like, sure, there's going to be things that are a bit more convenient, like what you get with your pack, but I don't necessarily need a bigger pack. I feel like I can still be very organized with my pack.
Mhm.
The one of the really things I really like about it is you can zip full down the side of it, so you can open your pack wide open. So if
Mhm.
you have something in the bottom of your pack, you don't have to dig for it.
Yeah.
You can just zip the sides down and get in there, no problem.
That's the one issue with mine is, and I knew it going in, but it's more of just a big rucksack.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
So I don't feel like I need a bigger pack than 75 liters.
Yeah.
Because I've been able to get everything I need into that pack. And I feel like if I'm putting more than what that pack is capable of holding in, I think I'm bringing too much shit anyways. So
Mhm.
it's one of
Unless
those
you're coming
things.
back with a sheep and a coat.
Yeah, but still, you can only carry so much weight, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I can't carry a 200-pound pack, so it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So it just means more trips.
Just roll us down the hill.
Yeah, exactly.
The one thing, what about the only thing I'm thinking about that could potentially improve that pack would be maybe a bigger back pad.
Yeah, that's the one thing I was going to, when he said you get pack envy, the only thing I get envy is the hip belt
Yeah.
on yours. And I don't know, I'm kind of a bony individual. I've got like the way the fucking thing rubs on my back. I've got like a permanent rub mark on my back. I think Adam Yankee coined that as the backpacker's tramp stamp.
from the northern trip.
Well,
Because
just
you got pretty good. Well, we
got
all got
chafed
wear
pretty
and
good on
tear,
that.
but yeah.
So that's the only thing. And part of that hunt might have been what I was wearing underneath. I think you had some issues like that too. Like,
I had my suspends on,
right.
and then I took them off because it was just pulling my pants to the spot where it wasn't a good spot where the pack belt was.
Mm-hmm.
So I took the suspenders off, let my pants hang down a little bit,
Yeah.
and it was fine. So
yeah. So otherwise, yeah, I love the pack. I might take some precautions to avoid that. Maybe tape up my back beforehand
Mhm.
a little bit just to keep some of that rubbing from
yeah,
happening.
you should shave your. I don't know if you got hair situation there,
No,
but
I do. Because remember when we fucking pulled the tape off when we got back to the
Yeah.
hotel? Garrett did it for me and pulled a nice patch of hair off with it too.
Nice.
That was horrible. Good times. So I highly recommend that pack because it's number one, it's fairly affordable.
Mhm.
Still not cheap, but
That's
in the pack world,
That's a big one.
very affordable. You could buy 3 of those packs for what you would pay for some other packs.
Yeah, my
And
pack.
so yeah,
Especially if you're shipping them up to Canada with
Yeah.
duty and everything. Oh man.
and Fjallraven often has sales and stuff like that for whatever Canada Day, Boxing Day, whatever part of the world you're in. They're gonna have some pretty decent sales, and that's when I bought those 2 packs. And yeah, I don't regret it, and I don't see myself getting rid of it. I love it.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. Anything else you want to add on the pack front, Cal?
No, not really. I think as long as it's big enough, like as long as any pack's big enough to do what you want to do, I guess like the longer the trips go, you need more gear, and then that kind of takes up potential animal volume, but you're going to eat the consumables out of that pack.
Yep.
And you're right. You get a big enough pack, you'll never be able to fill it because you'll never be able to carry it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So there's definitely a middle ground there.
Totally. Next question. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. You all right over there?
Yeah, I was just, I thought you were waiting for me to read it, but I actually don't have the questions
okay.
up.
I like this question. I've never really thought about this from a Canada perspective. Mr. Rayner wants to know our opinion on allowing non-resident Canadians to hunt across the country without a guide. What do you think about that? It's not happening, but it...
No, and I don't think it should. I mean, I'm new to hunting, period. I'm also extremely new to the whole economics of the guiding and resident situation. But what I've heard in talking to certain folks is that BC needs like the guides need resident hunters and resident hunters need the guides. Like we all have to work together, and
Yeah.
there's value in the guiding industry in the province as well. So what I read to that is it would kind of hurt the industry. And, like I said, I don't know a whole lot about this, but I don't think that would be a smart thing to do.
Yeah. I find it interesting because when I hear states in the US that would allow us to hunt without a guide, I'm like, fuck yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Right.
But they also have better managed
exactly.
wildlife.
Yeah. That's what I was going to lead to was we're just not funded well enough to like get a proper grasp on what we actually have for
Exactly, yeah.
species up here. So I guess I 100% agree with you. I think that's really important what you said.
Mhm.
For me, I don't think I could ever afford to hire a guide. So I probably just wouldn't hunt in a place where I would have to hire a guide
Yeah.
at this point anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're also spoiled because we live in BC, so we can hunt just about anything.
And I would also worry about the number of people in the States, and they all would want to come to BC.
Yeah, they would.
You know what I mean? Like,
So yeah, I think it'd be a pretty complicated system to set up because you would have to allot only so many tags to
yeah.
non-resident.
And then the
so many to
residents would
guides.
freak out because all their
Yeah.
opportunities would
Yeah.
get a fraction, right?
Yeah, and then if you look at places like New Zealand, from what I understand, I think you can go and hunt there without a guide, but that's a totally different situation because you're dealing with
Yeah.
non-native species and stuff like that they want help with anyways. But there's also guides there too, and I think people do both. It just depends on what you want out of it. So
Mhm. I think places like Montana have some type of point system where you can buy into the points and it somehow turns into a draw
Yeah.
thing. If somebody's out there that can kind of send us a note and elaborate on that system, I think it's Montana. Might be Wyoming. I'm not sure.
See, yeah, maybe there's ways that you can leverage this because if things aren't working properly up here as far as funding conservation through species licenses, but that would be a cool way to fund it. So if non-residents were buying points, putting money into conservation, maybe that could be a good thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, there's still all the other issues, but
let's say there's only like a handful of very hard to draw. For
yeah,
something
it would be
that.
like, it'd have to be like limited.
Yeah. So some of these places in the US, I know it takes like 15 years for these guys to draw for an elk in certain areas, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, some of those tags are like once in a lifetime.
yeah.
Like I've heard of a moose tag. I think it was in Idaho, but it's like you draw it and you don't get it back again.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
Yeah. So that's what I'm getting at. Maybe there'd be a cool way where like guys can put in money knowing that the odds are stacked against them, but also know that they're putting in for conservation, right?
Yep.
I don't know. Thinking out loud. But
Yeah,
anyways, I don't see that happening anytime soon.
No.
In a perfect world, I think we could figure these things out. But yeah, cool question, man. It's just kind of interesting because we're obviously going to be protective of British Columbia, but if there's other places that have opportunities for non-guided hunts that we can do, then
Yeah, it's kind of a question of how does their system work?
Yeah.
What's the numbers? Their wildlife is better managed. The demand, like what would the demand look like for
Yeah.
each province if that happened? Yeah, it would be a complex thing. My first thought is that I wouldn't want to go anywhere near that as a BC resident.
yeah. Next
I'm being
question.
selfish.
Yeah, stay out of BC. No, I'm just kidding. This question's for you, or maybe it was for me. I don't know. It's from our buddy on the coast. Our best wants to know: are you growing a mustache for Sheep Show?
I don't
Yeah,
know why that has to be just for me, because I can see you can grow a mustache.
I just can't get a nice full mustache like you can.
I feel like, oh yeah, I might be able to. Maybe I should.
You just got to shave your beard off, and
Is that Ryan?
yeah,
Okay, well, tell him I'll think about it.
okay. I can try. I could just let this keep going and have a little dirt stash.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of a business trip for us too, right? And there's something about a mustache that just pushes people away.
Yeah, you might be right. Derek wants to know, how are you going to get mentally prepared for a hunt like this, referring to our sheep hunt?
I think I've read a little bit of that David Goggins book
Mm-hmm.
recently, and I can't remember what it's called for some reason. Oh, something like You Can't Hurt Me or something. I think that's what it's called. But it's all about him going through the Navy training, Navy SEALs, after like a really rough upbringing. And the
Yep.
whole book's kind of about callousing your mind and your body. And like most people only get to like 40% of their capability. I guess what I'm trying to say is like through training, like physically just trying to do things that are gonna, callous your mind a little bit.
Yeah.
And just, I think it all comes down to preparation. That's
Yeah.
kind of what I'm focusing on, and the physical and the mental kind of tied together.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I
feel
would
like
agree.
we've already done a bit of that mental. I talk about bears and stuff and grizzlies when we went up there the first time. So like mentally, I've gone through some experiences to get more used to that kind of thing. And just the more you get out there, I think it helps you out. And also packing food.
Yeah.
And having gone on some multi-day trips and being more comfortable with that, all comes down to preparation, I think.
Yeah. I would agree with that. Yeah. On the mental side of things, I feel pretty mentally prepared for this one. I always feel mentally pretty good going out into the backcountry just because I spent so much time out there. Physically, I want all of us to be physically ready so that we're all having fun.
Yeah.
Because if anybody, I have no doubts with this hunt, but just generally speaking, if you have somebody in your group that may not be physically ready for a hunt, it's not going to be fun for them and it's not going to be fun for you.
Yeah.
So that becomes a mental drain, right? Because you're way out there, and what do you do in that situation, right? So,
Yeah. That's the thing. It's not hard to do something every day at this point when you have those flights booked, because it's not hard to picture yourself 8 months from now standing on the base of one of those mountains.
Yeah.
And you're looking up there going, I'm thankful for every minute I put in before this.
Yeah, man.
And that's kind of mentally where I'm at now, is just knowing that time is going to come very quick.
Yeah. I can't wait. So excited, man.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm trying to think if we got any other questions here. I think we're still trying to figure out final details. Well, there's 2 questions here. What company did you book your sheep flight with? And how much did it cost? How much information are we willing to give away here, Cal? It's risky
I don't know.
business. Although you could fly to a million different places. You did a rough budget. What do you think this trip overall, roughly, is going to cost all 3 of us with gas to get up there?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really written it all down, but I was just going through it mentally yesterday.
Yeah.
And I would say it's about $2,000 each, probably.
Yeah.
By the time you're all
Yes.
said and done.
So we have a 19-hour drive,
Mm-hmm.
which is going to be a lot of fun. We've done that already.
We could save some money if we all take the Mazda.
We could. So what are we going to do with all the meat on the way home? Tie it to the roof?
Good point.
Yeah, we could save some money there. That's for sure. So that's accommodations too. We're going to have a room up there for the night we get there and the night we come out of the bush too. And then our flights into the lake.
I remember how much the gas was last time. I think it was like $600 or $700.
Yeah.
Round trip. And then you got your flights, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
hotels, not counting any of the stuff you would need for hunting, like your hunting food and your hunting gear and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think like 200 or 2,000 is probably a pretty safe estimate. And then
so.
like plus or minus $500, depending on where you're coming from and
Yeah, the
how
distance.
many guys you have and what kind of plane you're taking.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and how far you have to fly and all that stuff. So,
yeah, what lake you're going into.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's really, it's funny because it's, thousands of dollars. But again, when you think about folks who have to come up here, they're talking tens of thousands of dollars for one person.
40, 60,000.
Yeah, exactly. So we're very lucky. So I'm not going to complain about that. That's for sure. Here's a question we get quite often. We got a new hunter looking for their first BC deer rifle. Suggestions on caliber and rifle to start.
That's a good question. You know what I go back to? 30-06.
Yeah, it's just
here's the thing. Everyone wants to be, and I'm one of them. You want the coolest sounding name, like 300 WSM or 7mm Rem Mag and all these. Those are just standard ones too. Those aren't even the super fancy ones, but 6.5 PRC and all these new rounds. all of them are going to work.
Mm-hmm.
But it just like, I feel confident that if I got a phone call from anybody to hunt anywhere for anything, I would just take my 30-06.
Yeah.
Done
deal.
But the other thing that came to mind when I saw that question was, if I knew I was only going to hunt like deer-sized animals, I'd probably look at the 7mm 08.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a very, like the recoil is very low. It's a good rifle if you wanted to bring somebody like your kids out or your wife out too, if they wanted to try it. And it's a short action with pretty available bullets, that lightweight rifle.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like that's a cool caliber, and it's probably like a good goat gun too, like
right?
For going up steep stuff, and when you're thinking about weight and low recoil.
Yeah, for sure. The thing is, though, man, is like you might be starting out hunting. You'd be like, yeah, I just want to hunt deer. That's it. Good luck with that until you see a big elk, and then you want to hunt elk. And
yeah, and I mean, the 30-06 will do just fine with deer.
Yeah, for sure. So,
I would stick with that, but I will put the bug in the air for the 7mm 08 if he's just thinking deer.
Yeah. Cool.
Deer to elk with that rifle.
Yeah. Sweet, man. I think that's enough questions.
Okay.
Kelly, you did my Euro mount, and we've kind of joked about this a few times. There was like a miscommunication somehow, or I can't remember what happened. I left my phone behind, and we had picked a day to like maybe do the Euro mount for my my 4-point muley.
Mm-hmm.
And we never actually like confirmed it, I think is what happened.
I can't remember. I do remember that we had the head that was not skinned.
Yeah.
And we thought, well, maybe we'll just wrap it up and throw it in the freezer.
Yeah, we did. But I'm saying, so when it came time to actually doing the Euro mount, we had sort of made rough plans like, oh, maybe we'll get together on Saturday and I'll bring up some of my stove gas and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
We never confirmed it. And then I left my phone at home on that Saturday. And then you just assumed, I think, that we had confirmed it, and you started working on it. And then
I had all my stuff
me,
out,
and I didn't have my phone with me or anything.
Yeah.
And then you didn't know if you even had enough gas for the stove and stuff like that. So, long story short, you ended up doing my Euro mount by yourself. So take me.
Well, it was your first buck too. Like I know
I got to do yours.
And I figured that it was a snowy day, and like I wasn't doing anything, and I had already pulled this stuff out, like the stove and all that. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm just gonna keep going. Like, what else do I have to do today?
So for today, if you're ready for this, because this is all gonna fall on you. I have no experience.
Yeah.
Can you take me through the entire process as best as you can recall?
Yeah.
On how you put that thing together, because it's awesome. I love it. It's in my house now.
I think so. Yeah, I think it worked out pretty good for a first time.
Yeah, I think it looks great.
Because there's some things, and we can talk about, there's some mistakes that you can do that can kind of like, you got to remember you're working with bone, which can degrade and fall apart depending on if you're too rough with it.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, I was thinking about, okay, how did I do this? Because this was over a year ago. But there's a few things you need. One, you need a pot big enough to put a skull in.
Yeah, and we had one that was just big enough.
Just big enough. You're going to need some type of heat, so a burner of some kind. I actually used like an old Coleman camp stove.
Yep.
And propane. You're going to need a fully skinned skull.
Mm-hmm.
With that, I don't know if there's really a right way to do it, but you just got to start somewhere. You just start skinning stuff away.
Yep.
You got to take the eyes out, like put your knife in the eye socket, kind of go around a few times, and you'll figure out how to get those out. You got to take the tongue out and the lower jaw.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like connective tissue in spots. So you just got to kind of keep working at it, and eventually the jaw will open up and pop out. I don't think there's really a good way to explain that without kind of getting hands-on.
It's one of those things I think you just have to get in there and you'll figure it out.
I think the big thing is just be careful with the knife. Like, you don't want to start cutting a bunch of lines in the bone, right?
Yeah.
So, just work away at that. It'll take a bit, maybe an hour or so. So once you have that, what you're going to do, actually, just to talk more about the supplies, you'll want some type of like OxyClean is what I used. But you can use Dawn soap or like any type of solvent like that, or like soap. Degreaser is what I meant to say. So you'll need something like that. And then for the whitening process, I've seen a couple ways. You don't want to use bleach because it's too hard on the bone, but you can go to a hair store, like a beauty supply store,
A hair store.
hair store, hair salon. Ask for a developer, like 20 volume developer or 40 volume developer.
Yeah.
It's basically like a peroxide that they use. So I think I ended up getting 20 because I couldn't find 40. The lady, when I went in there, I'm like, yeah, do you guys have any of this 20, 40 volume developer? And she's like, oh, she asked me what I needed it for. Or no, I think she just said, oh, you're a hunter.
Oh, really?
She just knew right away. I'm like, yeah, we live in BC for sure.
That's hilarious.
So she knew. She didn't even ask any questions. I laughed. She handed me this stuff. I walk out the door. It was easy as that. So those are kind of the key things. The other thing is, and I watched a video on YouTube by White Bone Production or White Bone Creations.
Okay.
And once it's all said and done, you can potentially have some color wear on the base of the antlers.
Right.
So he uses Minwax Provincial.
Okay.
And you get a Q-tip, and we'll get into that.
Sure.
So I think those are you'll need 4 or 5 things. So once you have your skull all skinned out, fill your pot up with water, heat it up, and throw your whatever Dawn soap or big scoop of OxyClean, I think is the best way to go.
Probably, yeah.
Get it heated up, put your skull in there, and you don't want to aggressively boil it. It's the same, like I said, it's bone, right? So try to keep it at a simmer, and then you just keep simmer it until the flesh starts. You can kind of pick it off a little bit, right? I think there's a flesh cap like on the top of the skull, and it'll start cracking a little bit, and that's a pretty good sign that it's ready to be taken out. Once you get to that point, it might take a couple hours or so. Just keep an eye on it. You take it out, and at that point, you're going to want a pressure washer or hose. Some people say not to use a pressure washer, but I have like a pretty low powered one. And you can use a kind of more of a wide spray on it.
Right.
And I was out in my backyard with a big Tupperware bin. I was just spraying that thing. And it gets a little messy, so you might want an apron and some safety glasses too.
Right.
So that's kind of the only, crappy part of this whole thing is you're going to make a bit of a mess. I'm still trying to figure out what the best way to do that is. I've heard of one guy using a bag, and he puts the skull in the bag, like a construction bag or something, and then he's using an air compressor.
Yeah, somebody wrote in with that tip.
Yeah, so maybe we could try that next time. But what you're going to have to do, and what I found, is that it's not like you boil it once and then you blow all that stuff out and you're good. Like, now you got to go throw it in there again.
Right.
Boil it a little more, loosen stuff up a bit, then pressure wash it again. And I think I did it about 2 or 3 times. Each time maybe a little shorter, like not 2 hours each time. The other thing, there's the ear holes in the skull.
Yeah.
You get in there with the screwdriver and kind of like break that stuff up a little bit inside. There's just a lot of like little cavities and stuff, right? So like nobody's going to look in the ear holes, and it's a natural hole anyway. So you just break stuff up in there. The brain will come out. You might have to get like some needle nose pliers and pull it out. It'll be all cooked and shrunken. The other thing, and I got this from that video on YouTube as well, is some people don't like to take the nasal cavity out, but he was saying like just go in there with needle nose pliers and pull all that stuff out. Just break it, pull it out. So if you look at yours, if you look up in the nose there's no like, usually there's a half, like it's split in half with the sinus cavity. Yeah. It's just completely open.
Right.
I just ripped all that stuff out. Where the eyes are, there's more sinuses in here.
Yeah, okay.
That's all fine. Like leave that. But you don't really want to slam the pressure washer in there either. You kind of want to go more from the backside, from the brain side.
Yeah.
So, because that stuff's pretty fine. So, yeah, you're kind of going back and forth, doing a little pressure washing, a little boiling. Once you get it to the point where it's it's totally cleaned out. Like you don't want to have any flesh on there. It's going to yellow up and
Right.
it'll rot and who knows, it'll smell
Yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever. So just make sure it's nice and clean. And then once you get to that point, I think I started with some fresh water.
Hmm.
And then that's when you dump that developer in there.
Right.
And I don't know. I don't know what the science is there, but I think I had a little, maybe a liter.
Yep.
For our American listeners, a liter of cola. But I think I had about a liter, maybe a liter and a half. I just dumped the whole thing in the pot.
Yep.
And then I filled the rest up with water.
Right.
And I think I went for about, I want to say 20 minutes or so. I think if you end up with 40 developer or something stronger, then you might only want to go for 10 minutes.
Right.
Especially if you have like 50-50 mix.
Yeah. Okay.
So depending on like the ratio of how much that peroxide you have in there versus how much time, like that's going to offset depending on, low amount of mix, longer time, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So, yeah, well, I think once you get to that point, it's pretty easy because you're just going to leave it in there, let it simmer a bit more in that mixture. And then when you take it out, just make sure you, if you have a chance, let it dry out in the sun. Because I think the sunlight really helps to whiten it up.
Right.
And then, yeah, you just wait for it to dry. Another thing I got from that video too, once it's all dried up, it's called Mop and Glow.
Okay.
It's like a floor cleaning, glossing kind of stuff. And he just gets his brush out and he paints the skull and the horns and everything.
Okay.
With it.
Cool.
Which just, it kind of seals it up a little bit.
Right. Just make it last longer.
Yeah, and it gives it a little bit of a cleaner look. And at that point, that's when I got the Minwax, the Varathane or stain or whatever you call it.
Yep.
Get a Q-tip. And if you did end up with a little bit of, color damage on the base of the antlers, usually you want to like tape those antlers up with something like saran wrap.
Okay.
Before you put it in with the bleach, or not the bleach, the peroxide.
Yep.
Try to protect them where you can. And if you do get a little bit of color damage, you just use this stuff with a Q-tip, this Minwax, and just slowly, patiently just keep layering it on. And like if you look at yours, you
Can't really
probably,
tell.
if I wouldn't have told you, you'd
No.
never know that. And I think it was like 1 or 2 inches of complete white
Oh, wow.
on the base of those
No,
antlers.
you would never know.
No.
Yeah.
So that was an awesome tip. And then I think you're pretty much done
Nice.
after that point. You just got to figure out where to, you got to go pick up all the little bits of deer skull in your backyard.
Yeah.
And
Well, you gave Garrett those same tips, and I don't know if you shared that video with him, but he did the elk himself too, which also turned out really well.
yeah, I haven't seen it yet, but I'd like to see it one day.
Man, next time you're in the Kootenays, you have to go see it because I don't know. You know how it is with that stuff. There's like some weird connection to it, right? It just
Mhm.
takes you right back to it. And fuck, that thing is impressive, man. It's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had a bigger job there.
Yeah, he definitely did.
But I think it's at the end of the day, the whole process isn't rocket science. And there are some good videos on YouTube.
Yeah, should we put a link to that one in the show
Yeah.
notes, and we can put it up on our blog too?
For sure.
Very cool. Nice, man.
So actually, we have one more skull coming.
Oh, the bear skull.
Yeah.
Forgot about that one.
So I asked the tannery to keep the skull for us. And
So they just huck
we
it in the
can-
freezer for you then?
yeah, I guess they skinned it out and they just put it, they said that they'll give it to me when everything's done.
Cool.
Which should be in the next month or two.
Yeah.
But that one will be easier because there's no antlers to worry about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
for
you
sure.
can leave the lower jaw on the predators.
Yeah, it looks cool. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty simple, really.
Yeah.
And it says a lot to have Garrett and I both doing our first one, and they worked out fine. So,
Yeah, they looked awesome.
I think the biggest concern you have is just don't overboil it and don't over peroxide it or
Right.
whatever that stuff is,
Yeah.
developer.
Yeah.
Because you'll start noticing that the bone just gets brittle and it just starts, it just starts washing away almost.
Right.
So you want the bone to stay like nice and smooth. I think you'll know if you overdid it.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you. You kind of know when it's boiled enough, when
Yeah.
it's clean enough, and everything. So.
Yeah. I think if I got something, let's say I want to do like a sheep Euro mount.
Yeah.
Or I got like a massive mule deer that I was just, that once in a lifetime.
Yeah.
Personally, I might just bring that in and get
Right.
it done professionally. I just don't know if I'd want to take a chance. I wouldn't be happy with myself. I think it would probably be about $100 to $200 to get a
Yeah, it's
Euro
not that
mount
bad.
done. I'm thinking more on the sheep side of things. But yeah, I think if you want to save yourself, $100, $200, then just do it yourself.
Yeah, definitely, man. One of our longtime listeners sent in a photo I think it was this morning actually, of his mule deer, Andrew. And I guess I can't remember the story behind it, but he had to leave it behind. I think he was in Alberta,
Mm-hmm.
and beautiful. I think it was a 4-point, and looks fantastic. He had it done professionally. And like you said, he said the same thing as you, is like, it's kind of that once in a lifetime thing. You feel better to just let the pros take care of it and
Yeah.
come and collect it when it's done, because you don't want to make any mistakes with that. But
Yeah.
looks pretty awesome.
Yeah. I mean, if you wanted to, if there were, say, 2 animals in your life that were, these amazing memories and this
Mhm.
amazing trophy that you got to keep,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be too opposed to just spending the $200
Yeah.
or whatever it is.
However, it is kind of cool that you did my first buck DIY,
Yeah.
and turned out really good. So
I think I only did it too because, it wasn't like we were thinking, oh, we're going to mount this thing. Like we weren't all over.
yeah, it was kind of, let's try it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It seemed like we were impartial either way.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh, well, this is a good time to try it.
Yeah.
But if you were like, oh, I'm stoked, I'm going to do a Euro mount with this thing.
Yeah.
If you had a full blown plan, then maybe we would have been a little more cautious with it. I'm not
Maybe.
sure.
Yeah, I don't know. That thing's pretty special. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I look at it every day. Well, it's right above my bed. So
Yeah. Yeah, you have to.
which says something. Kelly, you did such a good job that Ashley said we could put it above our bed.
Yeah.
Which is, that's,
See, there you go.
that's
That's the
saying
badge of honor.
something. It totally is.
Yeah.
Cool, man. I think that's good for this episode. Anything else?
No, I don't think so.
Nice.
Maybe we'll, I'm sure we'll get more questions on this too for the next episode. So maybe we'll do
Yeah, if you guys have anything that needs clarification or anything like that, send us an email. Cal, this is episode 90.
90.
That's crazy. Yeah. We're coming up on 100. So I was thinking we should do something. We should put up a post on Instagram, and I want everybody to tag who they think we should have for episode 100 as a guest.
Oh, good idea.
Maybe it's just me and you. Maybe it's someone special. But if you guys make a lot of noise on Instagram, maybe we'll be able to get that person, whoever it might be. Lots of cool people we could talk to.
I agree.
I want to do something special for 100, and we don't have any plans yet. So perhaps you guys could help us figure that out. And leave it at that. So
Yeah.
watch for that. If you guys aren't following us, Rookie Hunter Podcast on Instagram, we have some fun on there, and that's probably the best way to keep in touch.
Cool.
All right, let's get the hell out of here, Cal.
Cheers.
Cheers. This episode of Rookie Hunter was also brought to you by North Arm Knives. North Arm Knives are handcrafted and sold directly through a father and son team right here in British Columbia. Choose from a selection of outdoor knives, kitchen knives, and custom engravings from NorthArmKnives.com. They ship internationally and guarantee all of their work. Kelly and I have put their products to the ultimate test and give them our stamp of approval. Head over to NorthArmKnives.com.